Hello, my friends. Welcome to Let's Talk, produced by Wise Mindly Inc. I'm your host, Coach Shay Marville. In this space, we dive into transformative conversations that hopefully inspire you to grow, heal, and have a deeper connection to yourself and to the world around you. So let's talk, let's connect, let's grow together. Gentlemen, my goodness, I got to talk to these two movers and shakers. You've got a new agency that is playing somewhere between being a Luddite and being an AI enthusiast, sprinting with brands and changing the game here in Canada. Welcome to Let's Talk, Jay and Rich. I am so excited. Can you tell?
Thank you.
I'm so excited to talk to you both.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Tell me what's going on with this new agency. What is it? It's called Proven, but it's not spelt with an O
Yeah, I'll
or an
start.
E.
Yeah, I had this concept about a year ago. I saw so many people being kind of let go from our industry, the consolidation, COVID, all these things were happening, converging at once. And I thought there's a lot of people out there who are still very, very good in this industry, but they've been sort of passed over or chosen to leave. And
Yes.
the word that stuck in my head is these people were all proven in an industry that's always focusing on the young and young people that allegedly have better ideas. I thought, well, no, there's a bunch of people who have been through the different challenges and came up with this idea, proven. And then interestingly, I met Rich and as one of the first people trying to form this company, and he was the one who said, well, why don't we drop the O and drop the E? O for overhead and E for ego. And hence we came up with proven, because that's basically the mantra that we have is, getting very talented people together in a very short period of time with a disciplined process involving the client and
Yes.
producing excellent work in 2 weeks. So that's the concept behind Proven.
I love it. I love it. Rich, how does it feel to be working in this new space?
I'm excited to actually become proven and to start, serving more clients in this model. It feels new and exciting, and I guess also familiar at the same time. I think I've been a freelancer for like 25 years now, so I'm used to being the fire department and coming in and solving problems quickly.
Yes.
Traditionally, that has been through an agency solving the client. And so I guess the big switch here is that we are attempting to do that now directly for
The
clients.
client. And do you think that it's more possible now because everything's been like thrown up in the air over the last 5 years, and you have clients saying, "I'm not sure I need an agency to do all of these things. Like maybe I need some hired guns. Maybe I need, someone who's just or a team that's just going to innovate, but for a short period of time."
I think in the past, things were good. Like 20 years ago, things were great for me. Agencies would hire me 3 months, 6 months. I had an 18-month contract at a time. And of course, their planning's terrible and they would just extend the contract 2 weeks at a time and just keep me guessing how I plan my life.
No, it's
But that
horrible.
was
It's horrible.
great. And they were responsible for, like, they would hire you and then they were responsible for saying, okay, here are the clients that you're serving. But agencies were a storehouse for talent. And like that's where if you were a really good freelancer, you would get hired by the agency and they would bring the client in and they manage that relationship and they charge some premium for your services as well. Like they were making money off of you. But so they were sort of the storehouse and the connector, the bridge to the client.
Yes.
But lately they have become the barrier to the client. they became, instead of the bridge, they become like a castle moat because they want to fill their agency with like, you know, a rock star figurehead creative director that goes around and shakes the hands and kisses the babies and woos the client and goes
Mhm.
on LinkedIn and says, "So humbled to be the judge of such and such a show," or "Wow, we just won this new piece of business." But they're not there really working on the business. The agencies are flooded with juniors because as soon as somebody becomes too expensive, they turf them out the door, and they
Right.
want to solve problems with like software and process and continue to charge a blended rate where they're making more and more profit. So the
Yes.
senior experienced people aren't welcome there anymore.
Mm.
These are broad strokes,
Yeah.
generalizations,
It's
but by and
interesting though.
large, you're not as welcome there. They don't want you there because they're expensive, and so now they become a barrier to clients. I think clients are finally realizing, they're like, wait a minute, where did all those smart, cool idea people go?
Go.
Where are they?
Yes,
And
yes.
so this is our solution: is that we can now provide, and not just say here's people, because these big companies don't know how to hire independent people. So we're
Yeah.
providing the most efficient framework that we can, so that they can buy like a thing, they can buy a service, they can buy like, we'll provide the structure. It's really lean, but like there's some structure, and they can sign a check for a thing instead of like chasing after individual freelancers and trying to create a management framework for them.
Right. Well, you both have talked about, and Jay, I know this really resonated with you, the idea of Saturday Night Live and
Yeah.
creating a whole like show that is going to be live and that is well planned, and you run through all these skits, and you start on Monday, or Saturday, and you don't know where you're going to end up next Saturday.
Yeah.
That this is a process that is really invigorating.
Yes. Well, that was the inspiration that leading up to the 50th anniversary, there were all these shows on sort of SNL and different perspectives. And one of them was, how do they do it? And they start on Monday with a blank sheet of paper, all the writers in one room. They find out who the guest host is. And then they're just told to go away and write. Some write individually, some write in teams. The next day, they come and present their ideas to the whole group, which is a tough experience to go through. You're kind of putting your ideas on the table amongst your peers. That gets narrowed down, maybe cut in half from 100 ideas. They refine them some more, and then on Wednesday, the boss or the client would come in, and Lauren Michaels, and he would sort of say, "Well, I like these ones," and so they would narrow down maybe to 15, needing 10 little skits, and they would work on them and dress rehearse them, and then they would actually do a show before the live show to see which ones are connecting with the audience. And often they would pull one out and put one in if it wasn't working. So I sort of said to myself, like, how come they can do it and we can't? Like, why does it take 6 months for an agency to get to a creative product that is 30 seconds long
Yes,
or
yes.
60-second radio spot? And Rich had read a book about Google. I'll let you talk about that had a similar process.
Yeah,
Rich?
it's called Sprint, and I
Yeah.
think that agencies have been doing this
Oh, yeah.
for as long as I've been working in the industry, which is
Yeah.
since mid '90s. It's when there's a pitch, and that's like, as a freelancer, often I would be brought in for a pitch. I just 2 weeks, just go, generate as many interesting ideas, new thoughts, and sometimes it gets executional, but a lot of time it's like a very top level, like rebranding work.
Yes.
Um, and of course, agencies, that's in a pitch situation. So the company has to declare a pitch, and then agencies trip over themselves and throw these ideas at them. But they're giving that stuff away for free, hoping that they will be signed on for a month by month, like extended
Right.
contract to be agency of record. And so I just think that that is the inherent rot at the root of agencies still. Like we're still doing this dumb thing where we give away our best thinking for free and then try to get that money back over a long-term relationship where we increasingly disappoint and like dilute the quality of the people that are working on the business, and like to try to
Mm,
get that blended rate that we're charging to be more and more profitable for the agency, and just stretch it out for as long as you can. And so we want to give agencies the option of paying for the thinking part with no obligation afterwards.
right. So they're paying up front, and
Yeah.
then and the value of what the creators are making
Mhm.
is paid for, but it's not like about hustling. You're doing the pitch to hustle to get the partner, to get the relationship, and then and then the ideas go nowhere sometimes.
Yeah,
Right.
it always frustrated the crap out of me too. Of like, I'm working really hard, and I have a bunch of exciting thoughts that I think are good, and then I'm going to a creative director, and so the creative director is deciding, but the creative director isn't talking to the agent, to the client about what they might like. So they're
Mm,
guessing, and then there's a big ta-da at the in the pitch room, which is just like a 1 hour go in the room and do the dog and pony show, instead of including those decision makers along the way, and like having those decision makers talk to the people that are actually doing the work,
mm,
so that
Yeah.
they can actually have some input early on,
right.
and then they can say these ideas are exciting to me, develop these ideas and bring those ones forward throughout the week, right? Because like this big guessing game and the big ta-da at the end is just painfully stupid. And
Yeah.
so this is
It's
our system
inefficient. It's
fixes that
inefficient,
by
really.
bringing, like, decision makers have to be there
Yeah.
early on, making tough choices, picking what they like, killing things they kind of like,
Mhm.
right? Because a key decision maker in the room making a choice, and having direct contact with the talented, experienced people creating it, is the single greatest value creating thing.
Mm.
Yeah, I think the other thing, just back to the new business pitch, having run many pitches, there's this chaos of trying to rush and present ideas, and people would come in at the 10th hour and change it. See, our process is much more rigorous, as Rich said. We
Mm.
we have deliverables each day. Client comes in on a certain day, looks at it. So there's a method to our madness rather than just the madness that is a new business pitch, where you're writing the deck and the presentation right up to the end, and it really is an inefficient, burning out talent type of way to do it. I think the other thing is that we bring in the appropriate talent. So imagine an agency has all these people who have certain skill sets, but say there's a client that they don't have any skill sets for, they're kind of screwed because in these days they're not allowed to use freelancers, the multinational.
Right.
So what we do is Rich is actually has a website called Corral, which has over 1,200 freelancers in their portfolios. We know their work and we handpick the best people for the task. So we're really creating dream teams for the client who understand the industry and the business. And that's one of our secrets of our
I
success.
love that. Is it okay that we've shared one of your secrets?
Sure,
We don't wanna
sure.
share too many.
Oh
Oh
no,
yeah, no,
because
But what
we're
do you
completely transparent
transparent.
organization.
d
Yeah.
this week, I spoke to, the chair of advertising at OCAD, and, she was talking about, bringing fun into, uh, into the like bringing students into an industry that many of them have no idea that they could even work in, and about, creating fun environments, and that advertising is fun, and that most people don't know how fun it is. But is it fun? Do you think advertising is
I was going
like,
to say.
I I had I've had a taste of advertising a number of times throughout my career, and I have to say it's not always fun.
No, no, it's, I mean, I'm older, so I remember the 80s and the early 90s. That was still fun. That was still like Mad Men crazy. But then it became, as sort of, again, I come to the multinationals because they own most of the agencies.
Hmm.
We're chopping things up. So media separated from the agency. So you took away the medium and the message should be together as one, but now they're different. And then they'd start all these other satellite companies. People are moving there's a 25% turnover. So you don't get the
Yes.
same relationships. People don't have the same loyalty. So it's not as much fun. And then I would say again, because of COVID, you know, we've let employees, and I don't want to sound like a hard ass, but when you only come in 2 days a week, you can't create any relationships with anyone. You're not really having fun. You're not producing the greatest work. You
Mhm.
need the contact and the mentorship and watching people and running into each other and having fun in an office environment. And I remember the time, Shy Day and Night that we were called, we had the most fun. I could hardly wait to get into the office because
Mhm.
I was around smart people creating amazing things. That's not happening anymore. It's not a fun industry. You ask a lot of people, they'll say, don't go into it because it's going through all this radical change. Uh,
Right.
so, yeah, I wouldn't say it's fun.
But part of what you're doing, what you all are doing with Proven is taking out the agency framework and trying to create a sustainable process for creativity, but also for really dynamic people coming together to make things together, and that's got to have its fun to it.
Yeah, Rich, what was that chart that you brought about creativity and time on your best?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're trying to, so it, it's not fun,
Not fun.
but it is, I mean, it's fun and it's exciting. We're really trying to, just because to compete, to provide value
Yes.
for a client, to give them the most concentrated possible, good thinking. We're trying to really compress that as much as we can. It is an in-person process. So like the creative sprint that week, it's everyone, like you're going into the meet space, like you're in a room, there's breakout rooms so that you can go away and do your thinking on your own. And then there's like concentrated bursts of sharing. We acknowledge that like it has to be in person.
Yes.
Like this is fine for an interview, but like trying to do creative work and just like you're in an agency world where it's like I have 5 hour long meetings during the day. Like it destroys like creative thinking, and you need interaction. So we're bringing
Play. You
that
need to
in.
play.
The
Yeah.
idea is, so this productivity curve that Jay has mentioned is um, when you have experienced people that are good at their job and they see a brief, they see a good brief, like they see a good, like, here's the problem we're trying to solve. Like that first flood of ideas that come to them is where you're getting the absolute most like productivity,
Yes.
right? Like if you're good at this job, like your mind thinks creatively. You've done this a million times, and you see a good brief, they'll just be like the floodgates open. So you get a bunch of teams, you show them the brief, the floodgates open. We collect all of that stuff. You get it all up in the walls, literally like up on the walls, spread all over the place. And then you kind of from there you group them, you filter them. So we're really like we're doing it. No, I don't want to say nobody is doing it like this anymore, but like to my knowledge, people aren't doing this like this anymore. And this is really why we're calling it proven. Like that is the thing that is proven to actually
Work.
generate really, really good ideas very quickly.
Yeah.
Do you think do you think it's a generational issue? Do you think that people
In my
graduate?
day, we didn't have
Well,
fancy Zoom meetings and what talking with
are
intergalactic backgrounds and moonscapes.
are
And
are your
we
teams
liked it.
are your teams generational? Are like do you have a mixture of people from different ages?
So that's a great question. Anybody that a good creative thinker is welcome. This isn't like an age gated thing. It's just that
Yeah.
like the people that know how to do this are definitely pre-COVID. But
Mm,
these agency problems existed before COVID came along. COVID would
sure.
just pushed it over the cliff. But like I do feel bad for like someone in OCAD, like go into advertising. It's fun. Go into their office. Like there isn't the office culture anymore. Um,
Mm.
and they don't and there aren't the senior people for them to learn from.
Correct.
Like
Where did
I was
they
a
go?
junior. I
Where
was
did
I
all
was I was lucky enough to be at an agency called Roche McCullen Partners, which then became Low Roche,
Yes.
and I was under Jeff Roche. I was learning from like people that were winning one show gold pencils, and like they were really really great people, and I learned it by absorbing and competing with them on projects. Like you're in a shooting match with them for who's going to get the next billboard headline or the next TV script. And so like I
Mm.
learned by doing it and by having those great people across the hall, and I don't feel like that crucible for learning to, to the like just it doesn't exist like that anymore. So the industry is deeply imperiled.
Wow.
Yeah.
Deeply in peril.
Deeply imperiled.
Peril.
It's from my new novel, Deeply Imperiled.
Well,
And Netflix series.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Shay, there's a fact that hasn't the percentage hasn't changed that much, but 38% of clients at any one time are dissatisfied with their agency. They're either too lazy
Mm,
or it's too difficult to switch because they know they're paying for, you know, people who are inexperienced and they're just the business isn't moving at the same speed as their business. And again, that's one of our kind of key added values is being able to deliver at what we call founder's speed uh,
yes.
to give a client sort of an accelerated boost. We're not actually looking to replace agencies. We use this internally, this phrase, we are in a wicked hot affair for 2 weeks
With
versus a stale
weeks.
marriage, right? So we will come up with the ideas, and if the client wants us to complete them, we'll hand them off to people that we've proven that
Right.
otherwise they can give it to their agency. And interestingly enough, this week you saw that Dr. Pepper blew up their internal agency.
Yeah.
Bank has already blown up their internal agency because
Yes.
clients thought, okay, I'll do it myself because the agencies aren't doing it. I'll hire these people in, and that's also the kiss of death because the person paying your paycheck is also your client, and you don't want to lose your pay. You lose your objectivity. So there's a lot of reasons why I think our concept is on trend, where you're seeing these speed um, and use of AI tools as well.
Well, I was just gonna
Yeah,
ask you, I mean, this is debate that's been going on for 18 months is this intersection of AI and advertisement, and what work is really good, and then what do clients really care about? What do they think is good, and how does it serve their product or service? And you guys are using AI in the work that you're doing. Like I think you're making podcasts as well, but I'm
Yeah,
not going to say anything about that. Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But like talk to me about that. Like how did you like what where do you see AI being like assisting you in your sprint?
Well, let me start and then I'll pass it off to Rich because I think it's so important to get the creative person's perspective. But when we got together as five partners, we talked about this, like what do we want to be as we grow up? And we came to a conclusion that, AI we need to use as a tool to help us do heavy lifting that we could do, but it can be done a lot faster. But
Right.
it's not a replacement for the creative ideas. And so, Rich, I'll let you have a different perspective or a similar perspective, but from the creative viewpoint on how to use AI.
Its capabilities are, I feel like every week it can do something better. For research and for like compiling information and ideas, it's now indispensable. You just have to be using it. I think for the idea creation, we're committed to still doing it the human way. I mean, we're offering, if you want instant free mediocrity, AI exists, right? If you want something that is completely like what everybody else is going to do and is pretty obvious, but you're like, oh, okay, good enough, like
Yes,
done,
yes.
like that exists. No human being can compete with instant free mediocrity.
Right.
What we're giving you is really, really good, very quick, and not free, but but a far better value than the like half-hearted extended relationship with a advertising agency that's owned by a holding company
Yeah.
um,
It's about the
experience. Then
engagement though, right? Like it's about the
Yes,
engagement and like
Mhm,
the different iterations that you can do and faster, but you and your team and your,
mhm.
whoever the creator is still, I don't mean that creator. I mean like the
Yeah,
creator on the ground. Um they're there like interplaying with AI.
yes, yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
We've also partnered with a company called Advanced Creative Labs, who,
Mhm.
is in the AI space trying to help agencies um, find ways in which they can be more efficient. We're trying to help them better understand kind of the industry and where it's going. So that collaboration could prove very fruitful down the road. I mean, I agree with Rich. It's, for me, who started the industry with a typewriter and liquid paper, then had a computer Mac thrown on my desk at Chiat Day in 1988, to growing up with Macs, to getting an iPhone that I was reluctant to use because I didn't want to, everyone had Blackberries. I didn't want to feel so tethered to people calling me at any time. You know, it was, I was a holdout to say that, to now using technology and seeing the power of AI it really brings me great joy and excitement
Yeah.
of possibility of even being able to create better ideas because of the information we have at our disposal that we can then write into a creative brief that can great creative people, they need guide rails, but if you give them the benefit of a great creative brief, they can do wonders.
Mhm.
And that's really exciting to me.
What do you think the role is of diverse points of view at the table while you're like as you go through these sprints? Is it about the diversity of the people in the room, or the diversity of the thought or the experiences? Like who's at the table who's participating in these sprints that you're creating?
I think it's always different for every job, but we try to get it. There's a lot of work we're finding that we have to do before the sprint starts to get ourselves up to speed on the category.
Ready. Yeah.
And in that process, we start to identify, oh, we're going to need a UX person. We're going to need 3 creative teams. We're going to need, and we're bringing them, let's say, with their own histories together. Many of them have never worked together. So that creates, I
Love
think,
that.
excitement. Um, but when you're talented, and again, I come back to SNL, they sit all around the room and they kind of compete with each other to see who can get on. I forget who it was. Conan O'Brien said he went a year with as a writer without getting anything produced. Like that's a high bar. And I remember,
Larry David talked about, like
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
walking out because he's like nothing he was creating was getting, an opportunity. And then, and then realizing, okay, well, I'm
Yeah.
still getting paid and I still
No,
get
it
a
was the
chance to be
Kramer. It
me.
was the Kramer character. He went home. He said he quit. He says, "Why? You go back in Monday and act as if nothing
But
happened."
well, I heard Larry David talking about that, and he said that
Yeah,
that's what happened to him.
yeah.
Like so I think, it's kind of like it's really fascinating. Rich, sorry, were you gonna jump in? No.
No, no, I'm happy to listen here. On the topic of diversity, I think that like we are skewed, like my connections into the freelance world, I'm skewing older, but I think that that is actually the inherent advantage is that these people that have actually been formally trained in the discipline of advertising and actually learn from people that know what the edge f they're doing. So, but in terms of gender and um, ethnicity,
Everything,
we will. I mean,
everything.
we're not very well represented here in this call, but we will have like we have those people and bring those people in. I think diversity also in terms of like discipline and the customer, and if we
Mhm.
are if we're trying to solve a problem for like a restaurant or a service provider, like having those like those people included in part of the creation process also, right? Like
Well,
not, it's not just like not just advertising people in this sort of like ivory tower handing down
yes,
ideas. Like the people clients actually know their business, right? They don't want to hear research papers about what their business is. Like they know that stuff already. And
mhm,
a lot of the time a really important solution to their problem exists within their own walls,
yes, exactly.
and so we want to eliminate those barriers so that those people can be brought in and have access to like really smart creative people so that so that this pointless separation between those people is eliminated and then like real so real creative solutions can
Thrive.
meet with the
Yeah.
people that actually like experience those frustrations or have that knowledge.
Well, and I think so there are a couple things. Like one of the things is that a a client knows their business, but sometimes they don't know the questions that they're not asking.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
and I think that the process you are, building is about like asking all of the questions you can from different points of view of experience
Hmm.
that's actually not the job of the client, right?
Hmm.
So but when you start putting those things together like a puzzle, then the client might start seeing things that they never saw before. The
Correct.
reason I ask about the diversity, and I always bring the diversity question into different like conversations, is that I think we don't ask enough questions about the diversity of diversity, meaning that diversity isn't just representation, it's really like experience, right?
Mhm.
And the different experiences, like when someone is at the table, it's not just what they look like, but like what do they have to say in terms of breadth of experience? And I think that's the great value proposition of age, right? Especially if
Mm,
you have been around for 20 years. Yes, I'm a champion for getting older. I think it's a good thing.
mm,
One, it means you're alive, but two, it means that you've experienced most likely a lot of different ways of doing something or seeing something.
mm,
And especially now because of AI and because of, this mediocrity that's being reproduced every day, sometimes clients don't know that something could happen or that there's a demographic of people that might be interested in their
mm,
service or product
mm,
until
Yeah,
you talk to them.
yeah, you're so right. One of the sort of points of wisdom I've seen through my career is that when you ask those right questions and you're coming from a point of independence, if you will, so
Mm,
you're not tied to the answer or the question, you find out that clients' biggest problems are internal. When they always look outside to say, this company's doing better than us, but their real source of change and strength is internally. They're not aligned properly, sales and marketing. There's a disconnect with technology. There's all these things that with fresh eyes we can ask these questions. Why isn't
mhm.
this happening? Um,
Right.
and it's hard when you're seemingly doing well, to sort of change something because you're afraid it's going to fall apart. It's going to tumble down if you make a significant change. But in
Mm.
today's world, you've got to keep making those significant changes. There was a study saying that brands only last 50 years. I think that's down to 25 now.
And
And
and continuing to go down.
yes, yes, you need to. There's so much competition. There's so much um, um, like product edges get wiped out overnight. So
Yeah.
your ability to have a clear point of difference in a commoditized kind of category is communication, and you have to find a way to break through that. So that's all very exciting. And your point about diversity of experience, I totally agree. Like right now, whether we're in a recession, US has already had one quarter down. Our unemployment rate's going higher. We're definitely heading that way. There's certain things in marketing that you need that once you've gone through a recession, like 2008 or 2001, or 3, uh,
Yeah.
the you know what you learn from the mistakes and you see the companies that break through by
Mhm.
by maintaining certain aspects of their marketing versus, oh, that's an easy area to cut. So that history, bringing to say younger clients,
Mhm.
is valuable. So you make it,
Interesting.
yeah.
Well, it's also that everything is moving so quickly, we don't really have time to process.
Mhm.
It sounds like also your process is a way to process, like, all of this. Like, it may seem like a week. I'm just thinking about it out loud. It may seem like a week is not a lot of time, but then when you think about where people's minds are these days, like, just wandering everywhere, maybe a week actually is a long and very sufficient time in a time where everything's changing in minutes.
It's pretty intense. No
yeah,
phone.
our value, so our value proposition is that we're putting multiple experienced senior people in physical space. There's access to the internet, but it's discouraged. Like it's discouraged to just be on there staring into like a laptop, right? Like you're talking, thinking, writing deeply on a single problem.
Mm,
And I would challenge, I would challenge an agency to say with a straight face that, like, in a whole year they are giving like 6, 7, 8 really top experienced people thinking
Mm,
for hours and hours just
interesting.
about their most important problem
Yes.
in a year. In a year, I honestly don't think they're doing it. Right? It's this hyper distracted. I'll do a little bit here. I'll do a bit there. I'm jumping on a Zoom meeting. I'm not in the room with the other people that matter. Like
Yeah.
this is a pressure cooker forced, like very old school, but very like innovative in a way,
Mhm.
like system that we're trying to bring.
Well, I think it's also really human
Yeah.
because it's about being in the room with other human beings, not in your silo.
Yeah.
I think, and what I've observed is that a lot of people who graduated during the pandemic
Mhm.
or or in the last 5 years haven't always had that high touch experience. And because they may feel intimidated or uncomfortable with conflict, right?
Mhm.
Because you know, like you're in the room and there can
Yeah.
be conflict, right?
Yep.
And you have to be able to be cool and like just not take it personally. You're gonna go have a drink with that person after, or
Mhm.
you're gonna hang out, you're gonna spend, go travel with them. But in that moment, you have to feel confident in your ability and in the value you bring to the table to say, I don't agree with that, or I want to push that idea further, or I think you're way off,
Mhm.
right? And I feel like that piece for a lot of like new professionals, they don't have the space for that. Like it would be amazing if you guys could like collaborate or work with um OCAD or some I don't work at OCAD, and I
Yeah.
don't work for
Mhm.
you either, but I'm just saying, it would be interesting if you could
Yeah.
get in with some students and bring like, merge some of those
Mhm.
spaces together to give people that experience even.
It's funny you say that, Shay, because our first client, which we're finishing up now, they asked if their junior marketing person could sit in and learn through the whole
Oh.
thing. And here we are saying we just want the decision makers and things like that. But they saw a real opportunity to see how conflict happened. And this person saw conflict between clients too, which was
Mm.
was very interesting and helpful. So yeah, you're right. It's remember and I you take these best of skills with you. At Shy at Day, I would sit in a room with all these smart people, and I kind of say to myself, I don't think I should be in here. These guys are talking about stuff I don't even know. But there would be passionate, loud, screaming debates,
Mm.
and I wasn't really used to that at sort of 25, 28. And because my environment before was more non-inclusive, the account people
Mhm.
didn't get involved in the creative development. And but then I saw they'd leave and everything was fine. They left it all in
Yeah.
the room. But it was that energy and that they were all going, it wasn't attacking you as a person, it was the idea relative to the solution. And that was very helpful in terms of, as we always would say, there's always a better idea out there. You just run out of time.
Yes.
This is the best idea ever is bullshit. You just run out of time, you know?
Love it.
So
That's
that,
that's true.
yeah.
And we've run out of time.
Okay. Sorry.
Ah, that's a great
I
segue.
I could keep talking to you guys all afternoon. I think this is courageous what you're doing and the way you're doing it and who you're inviting to the table. I really appreciate you. I would love to have you back and share, what you're doing and how I think also a piece maybe okay, I have one more question for both of you. For people who are, they're in their 40s, 50s, 60s, they've sort of aged out of the market and out of the business in some ways, like out of agency life, and they're trying to figure out what they do and where they go next. Do you have any suggestions as people who are continually inventing themselves and building new things?
Rich, you go.
Advertising showed us what it was. I mean, when I joined the agency world, like there weren't old people in the 90s there weren't, and so like we shouldn't be
Right.
surprised. It showed us what it was then. It doesn't respect talent. Like if you're a 60-year-old lawyer, you're just hitting your stride and you're eminently respected and your experience is respected.
Yes.
um, and that is not, or if you're a doctor, you're a head surgeon, right? Like that isn't the case in advertising, because it was always just about getting as much work out of the person that you could for as
Mm.
little amount of money, dangle awards in front of them, tell them they're special creative people. So like it's always been BS.
Yeah.
um, and for what to do, like this is the great. I mean, what will we all do when a robot or a piece of software does our jobs? This is the great question of our
Generation.
generation.
Yes.
I think we moved to guaranteed basic universal income, so being unemployed doesn't equal a death sentence.
Mm.
Might be a might be a good idea.
Yes.
But everyone has their own strengths and interests, and we'll like this is. I think I'll put an optimistic turn spin on this, is that like Proven is looking for ways to bring our skills and experiences directly to the people that need them. We're
Yeah.
cutting out the holding company middleman that wants to keep, like these are generational wealth people, billionaires owning chunks of these companies that just want to extract money from clients and deliver a mediocre product. And like the cat's out of the bag on that. Like companies, well, they want actually good creative thinking, and
Yes.
we are providing that for them. And that model can be replicated in many industries, I believe.
I would say this, when I entered in the early 80s, advertising was a career. There were some people who, at the big firms that I was at, like JWT, Cassette, even Chiat Day, um, who were lifers. Like they would, and I always thought I would be like that. And I realized this even more at NABS, that we have a responsibility in the industry to say that you are a professional, but you are a professional athlete, and you have a shelf life,
Mhm.
and you need to plan your next career while you're in it. And too often even myself, I fell into the fact that, I was in my early 50s and I thought I would run out my career at TBWA, but everyone is expendable. So you need to take control of your career rather than having someone else do that. Having said that, there's tons of examples of people who are hitting their stride in their 50s, 60s, and 70s. And
I'll
I had
say.
exposure to one, Frank Gehry, who was Jay Chiat's um, one of his best friends, and promoted Frank in his early days in Montreal, and we had a piece of art in our office of a fish in a bathtub, which was representing from his Jewish heritage, the gefilte fish in the bath, um, because we believed, to be in a creative environment, it should be as creative as possible. But his career took off. And I remember looking at the Oscars one time, and all the people who were winning awards were in their 60s and 70s, and
Yes.
they had talent. So I really don't think that age should be a barrier to, if you have an active creative mind and you're open to change and you accept things rather than think the past is perfect. There's things that you learn that you should keep forward, values and principles, but you can change. And I think, the stat, you probably know this better than me, Shay, is back in the 80s, you'd have one or two jobs. Now people have 6 or 7 careers, changing all
Yes.
the time. So it really is upon the employee to take control of their destiny rather than thinking someone's looking after them, like I did.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I think it's the big human possibility that we're not our jobs, we're not our degrees. we are a series of evolving experiences. And as long as your mind is working, I think you got to keep making new things and growing and expanding. Anyways, I love, 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 and appreciate you both. Rich, well, actually, I don't love, love, love you because we just realized that. I love, love, love Jay. And I just want to be truthful. And but
This is a
I'm
breathtaking
very
honesty here.
yeah, yeah, well, how are we gonna build a relationship if it's based on honesty, right? And authenticity. I really appreciate you both and I'm very excited about what you're doing and the clients that you're approaching. So we'd love to have you back when you're ready. But
Yep.
again, thank you for being here today on Let's Talk.
Yep, thanks for having us.
Okay.
Bye, my friends.
All right,
Bye.
go on.
Bye.
All right.
My friends, thank you for joining me on Let's Talk, produced by Wise Mindly Inc. I hope today's conversation inspired you to take action, reflect, or embrace on a new way of thinking, on a new path. And if you enjoyed today's episode, and hopefully you did, don't forget to subscribe, share, and even leave a review. Reviews matter. They allow us to do way more than we're doing now. Let's continue the journey of growth and well-being together. Until next time, I'm Coach Shay Marville. Stay connected, stay curious, and let's keep talking.